I get this question a lot. How did you feel when you won or when you realized that you were a finalist at Stanford? Um, Honestly, I tell this to everybody who asks me the question. I didn't really feel anything. I think it was just like a mixture of shock and just like, oh my goodness, like I did it. I went into the tournament with no idea that I was going to, or I didn't even aim for finals. I think I was like, if I could break and do better than I did last year, then that's enough. So as soon as I got past where I was last year, everything after that was already just like, oh, this is already great. It doesn't really matter. Let me just keep on going. And then it was, I won another round and then another round and then another round. And then I just kept on winning until I got eventually to finals. And at that point, I think I was like too worried about I was too worried about trying to win finals. And so I wasn't even thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm at finals. And I think it was after when Eliz, my partner, and I won finals, I was crying. It just like the emotions just came out. I cried for a while because I never thought I would have won. And it was just so shocking to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so how many rounds do you remember you did like in that tournament?
Oh, I can't even count. Like I think that there were 6 in rounds, and there was like 5 to 7 out rounds or something. But everything honestly is just a blur. Like I can't remember everything exactly that happened in the round, but I can definitely remember things that I maybe said or the opponents that I went up against.
当时我在上班嘛，那确实后来知道了，其实早上知道他8进4了以后，嗯，就已经就挺激动的吧，因为他前一年2018年的时候，也去参加了斯坦福的比赛，那么当时是32强，然后就是在淘汰赛中就就被出局了嘛。那然后我们的期望，我跟 Yuki 大家就是期望，就是说希望这一次2019的这一次能比2018，就是说要做得更好一些。就是如果可以的话，就只要有进步的话，那我们就是胜利。所以并没有特别高的期望，也从来没有想过会得第一。就当时他32进16的时候，我们就已经很高兴了。我跟 Elise 的妈妈说，我们已经完成了就是预期的目标，其他能走多远，就是完全凭幸运了吧。就说当时最后当然知道他拿了第一以后，那心情确实是很激动的，在公司里面无法平静。
How I started debate was actually, I don't really think it was anything special. So in elementary school, I really liked talking. And I really liked talking at home. I didn't like talking at all at school. And I was pretty shy at school. And so my mom heard from one of her friends that debate is this great thing that a lot of people were starting up in Vancouver, and that she should put me into debate and at VDA. And VDA at the time, as Vicky will probably or have probably told you guys, was just a very small debate academy, just started. And so I was put into VDA. I literally just went there with just pen and paper. And I was like, okay, here's the first lesson, learn debate. And it was really fun, actually. I really like the coaches and I really enjoy debating. So that's really how I got into debate. And I remember like after my first lesson, my mom was waiting in the car, and as soon as I got into the car, she asked me, "How was it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, like the coach was great. The students there were also really fun. I got to meet a bunch of people that were my age that were also like really extroverted and also just really fun to work with." And then from there on, I started going to debate lessons every single week, and that's how it started. Yeah,
Yeah, it seems sounds like you enjoy that. For also,
for
so
sure.
basically, you think it's very typical. It's like I see a lot of kids like they don't feel like they're going to like debate, and also they shy. But then actually, when they started, they are really like it. Especially after they try, because when we
Yeah,
the trial, like students come here, like some of the kids are even pushed by the parents, and then at the end of the class they will feel like, oh yeah, I like it. So that's something I feel like debate is really amazing. Is like most of the students is come by themselves, not by pushing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I when my mom put me into debate, I had no idea that I would be here today. Like if you told me that, oh, Yuki, you're gonna win Stanford in 2019, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like I'm not even committing that much time into this. It was like a 2-hour thing once a week. So it was totally unprecedented. And I see that also in a lot of my students that I teach, where they would come in for a trial lesson and they would just have no idea, but by the end of the lesson, they'd be totally interested and want to take more lessons.
Yeah, totally. So it seems like you started with a good start, and then but then the furthermore, like going through like few years, you must like I want you to share some like your experience about your first term.
Right. Yeah. So obviously, there's no such thing as an easy road to success. And there's no way that I just won Stanford and that's it. It was a really hard road, and I had a lot of failures, a lot of crying, all throughout those three years that I debated. So my very first tournament was an interesting experience. I didn't really expect anything, honestly, for my first tournament. It was UBC Falls, and I was debating in the senior category. My partner was in the senior category, and so we both debated in the senior category. I lost a lot of the rounds. I basically didn't win any of the rounds. But I think that although I lost all the rounds, I didn't really come back crying or really didn't come back sad. I came back excited to go to the next tournament because I just learned so much. Like going to a tournament and debating against debaters, I learned so much. And I was so interested in continuing debate and doing more and more. And I think like it's really strange, right? Like usually when you lose, you wouldn't be happy, but I was pretty ecstatic, and I was like, and I told my mom, like, I'm so excited. I'm so ready for the next tournament. I'm definitely gonna crush at the next tournament. And I mean, like I didn't crush at the next tournament, but I definitely did do better. And that's how really my journey began. I think as a debater, your goal is always to do better than your last tournament and always to do better than yourself, never better than another person. And so my goal was always to get better, and my goal was always to beat myself at the previous tournament. And so there were always ups and downs. Like it's hard to always do better. It's hard to always go up. And I did have trouble going up sometimes. I had a lot of periods where I wasn't doing well, or I just felt like I wasn't improving. But one thing that really helped me through all that was the coaches at VDA. They're amazing. Connor, who used to be our co-founder at VDA, really helped me. Reed, Nathan, who's a current coach, always was there to help me. And a lot of the coaches here were also there to help me through my journey, including just also my teammates who are also now my coaches, right? Liz is a coach, Tina, Judy, all of these students who used to be my teammates are also coaches now at VDA, and they've supported me throughout this entire journey.
其实去辩论赛就是学东西的，而不是说要去拿什么奖。因为没有人在第一次辩论赛或第二次辩论、第三次辩论就拿什么奖。因为我们的课程呢，就是从基础班有分基础班、中级班，还有高级预备班、高级班，然后精英班，就分几个不同的级别。然后呢，一般的基础班呢就上一个学期，就是一定要上一个学期，不管你是学过演讲也好，或者是英语很好也好，你一定要先学一个基础，就是把所有的基础知识打一下。然后呢，上了中级班以后呢，可能孩子就要就是说会。在中级班待的时间就各不一，有的人可能1个学期、2个学期就升级了，有的孩子可能需要1年甚至2年，也有3年的都有。所以说这个听起来很夸张，所以呢，其实辩论这个就是这门课程呢，被家长经常问到的一个问题就是说，我在中级班待这么长时间，怎么就是说为什么要待这么长时间？你怎么去解释这个问题？如果家长问你的话。
Yeah, so a lot of parents actually, when we were in person teaching, would ask me why their child could not go into advanced or why they were staying for a long time intermediate. And I'm going to answer this from a student's perspective, from someone who did debate as a student, and also combining it a bit now that I'm a coach. So as a student, I never really thought that I was advanced material. I remember when I was in intermediate debate, I would look at the advanced debaters and the competitive debaters and be like, oh my goodness, they're so good. Like, there's no way that I'm that good. And debate, as Vicky already said, it's like a mental sport. It's not something that you can necessarily like just like read. You can't just like read about badminton and then know how to play badminton. Like, you have to actually do the action and you have to practice a lot to be able to do well. And it's not like math where like you definitely know, like if you know 9 plus 8 is like 17, it's just 9 plus 8 is 17, right? That's it. um However, debate is, it can be inconsistent, right? One day you might do good, one day you might do bad. And it's also a bunch of other factors. It's not only just, do you memorize these basic skills of how to make an argument, but also, can you react fast? Do you know enough about topics, like international topics, not just maybe you're good at politics, but maybe you're really bad at knowing about the environment, right? You have to have a good balance of topics. And all of these factors decide on whether or not you can move into advanced or move into other higher levels. And that's why intermediate is such like a good area. And that's why, as Vicky says, some people stay in intermediate for like 1 or 2 terms, while some stay for like 3 years. It's really dependent on, are you able to, under all circumstances, produce the same result and basically be a good debater under all circumstances. Now, as a coach, I want to assure all parents that are listening and even all students, I'm not here to hold you down, right? As a coach, I'm here to make sure that you guys are being pushed into advanced, pushed into competitive. I'm not trying to hold you guys intermediate, right? I definitely want to see you guys move forward, and I want to see your child move forward. And so, if there is a reason as to why I'm holding your child intermediate, it could be because of multitude different factors. And I think one factor that is less talked about is the personality factor. So I think debate, just like any other sport, is also takes into account a lot of your personality. So what that means is that when you go to debate tournaments, you're not always going to be winning. And a lot of times you're going to be losing. And if you aren't able to take that in well and know how to reflect on it and how to improve, what's going to happen is you're going to be, your mood is definitely going to affect the way that you debate, right? I've had it to happen to me too, where I've become really sad after losing a round, and then I'll have the mood affect my debate, and then I'll do worse the next round, right? Also, it depends on if you're hardworking or not. You can be a really, really good debater and you can be really, really smart, but if you don't work hard, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep you in intermediate, right? A lot of these factors that are based on your personality are also things that we're looking at. And I think that as a debate coach, it's much easier for me to explain to parents why. But it's not always easy to see, right? Things about personality, like whether or not a child is hardworking, is hard because sometimes a child is struggling, or sometimes a child is having issues with a certain skill, but not having issues with another skill. And it may seem like, oh, they're doing really, really well in intermediate, when in reality, they're maybe need a bit more support on one specific skill. Now, as a coach, I see that and I think, okay, and I do it like an evaluation. I think, okay, is this skill going to really, really hurt them if I don't really fix it and just push them into advanced? Right? Or should I keep them in intermediate, fix that skill, and then let them go to advanced? I have to do this kind of analysis. And if in any single coach's, I think, decision making, if we think that this student is better off staying intermediate, fixing that skill, and then heading off to events, we're probably making it based off of also the personality and also based off of other factors that we want to make sure that at the end of the day, also the child is happy, right? We don't want to be like putting them into this environment where everybody is better than them and they think that they're worse than everybody else. They don't feel good about it. We as coaches don't feel good about it because they're self-deprecating themselves all the time too, right? So we want to make sure that they're also having fun and being happy at the end of the day. Depending on the level I also teach, it also differs. So in terms of foundations and intermediate, I personally like to change it up as much as possible. And there's some basic topics that I usually like to go through, especially for foundation students. So people who have had me in foundations definitely know the topics that I go through. And these topics I think are pretty basic. And the reason why we do these topics are for mainly 2 reasons. Firstly, these are topics that have been run at tournaments, or these are topics that have been around for like years, I think, like probably like decades at this point. But also, most importantly, they're really good basic foundations for future for future motions. So topics really aren't going to be that unique, that different, right? There's going to be certain sets of topics, and everything else is going to be like a variation of those. It's kind of like math, where there's like, the certain formulas, and after that, it's just like variations upon those formulas. And I think that that's basically what motions are, and that's basically what topics are. So in intermediate and foundations, I know that, and also this also depends on elementary or high school, right? With high school students who have a longer span of focus, I can definitely do more topics with them that are similar. While for elementary school students, I like to throw out topics and different topics too. But most importantly, I also find it really important to take in the student's opinion. Usually on the first class of foundations, at the end of the class, I will ask them, and this is not only just foundations, actually, I ask it for like all of my classes that I'm in, I will ask them, what are topics that you guys are interested in? And they will tell me, oh, I'm interested in the environment, I'm interested in video games, and I'm interested in, I don't know, like politics, all this kind of stuff. And I will try my best to make topics that will connect with those topics that they're interested in. I think that if I'm, as a coach, unable to connect with the students, then it also means that that's partially my fault. So I always make sure that I'm transparent. So I always tell them, hey, if you guys think that this topic is too boring, let me know, right? So usually before we start a debate, I will ask them, or after a debate, I will ask the students, did you guys think the topic was hard? Did you think it was easy? What did you guys think of the topic? It gives me good feedback to whether or not I should use the topic again, or it also tells me, it also tells me whether or not the student group that I'm using it with likes those types of topics. Yeah. So I think throughout all of my years, I've had different changing opinions on that. However, I think as a debate coach, I have a more concrete opinion now. I think that it's really important to learn your foundations first. And one thing that I regret a little bit is kind of jumping immediately into tournaments, which didn't really help me, considering that my foundations were a little bit shaky. And I really wish that I solidified my foundations. So I think what's really great at VDA is that they created this like really great program where you do your foundations and then you're in intermediate. And I would say like mid intermediate wise is when you want to start doing more tournaments, right? So that would be your first to second year mark. And you would start doing more tournaments and start going to tournaments. I think the reason why I say that is because this is especially applicable to elementary school students. When I went to my first tournaments, I was happy, but like when I started not doing well, it was not a great time, right? And especially for debaters who just started debating and they don't have their foundations down and ready, they go to a tournament, they lose, they're gonna think it's the end of the world, and they're gonna think I'm a bad debater. When in reality, they're not bad debaters. They just need more practice during class, and they need to remember their skills, and they need to be like making sure that they're putting their skills into practice. And so I do think that you need around 1 to 2 years of time before you could start going to tournaments, or 1 to 2 years is also like just an estimate depending on where you are. I'm more thinking of like late intermediate is a better way of summarizing when you should start going to tournaments. As Tina mentioned in the beginning, I was the president of my school's debate club. And I think that's where it really started. So when I first started debate, I became involved in my school's debate club. And through that, I eventually worked my way up. There was really basically nobody in my school's debate club. And the two other people in the debate club were in grade 12. And so they just said, you know what, Yuki, we don't really want to do debate for the rest of the year. Take it over. And I took it over. And from there on, I had a few goals. I obviously wanted to create a more stable debate club, and I wanted to gather more members. Now, I just started debating myself, actually. Like, it's been like, what, a year since I started debating at that point. So I didn't really find myself in a position to really teach debaters. But I was like, I got to get more people in the debate club. Debate is such a great activity. I got to get more people interested. And so that's what I did. I started recruiting more people and I started teaching debate. And that was when I first started teaching debate. How I taught debate back then was no way close to the way that I teach debate now. Back then, I taught debate in a very unorganized way. It wasn't great, but at the end of the day, I tried to pass on all the information that I had and everything that I had learned onto those debaters, those students from my school. And I sent them to tournaments. And when I was sending them to tournaments, I would be acting as a coach and I would also be debating. So I would be talking to Connor, I would be talking to the other coaches at VDA, and we would be relating over the same problems about coaching and talking about, oh, how do I teach rebuttal better? Or how do we do this? And then that's when I think that VDA and also Connor realized that, wait a minute, Yuki is not only just a really good student, but she's also has the ability to coach students. And so from there on, I was offered an opportunity to assist at Vancouver Debate Academy, and I was a TA for Nathan, who is an amazing, amazing coach. And I also TA'd for Adrian and also for Connor. And so I helped them with coaching, and they really taught me so much more about coaching. They're amazing at handling children, because coaching is not only knowing how to debate, and I always say this, you can be the best debater, but that doesn't make you the best coach. And I think that that's because coaching is not only just about being a good debater, but also knowing how to teach other debaters how to do debate, but also to handle young children, right? I was like in grade 11, I think, when I started teaching debate, and I was teaching grades 4 to 7 and above, obviously, but mainly grades 4 to 7. And definitely without Nathan, Connor, Adrian helping me, there is no way I would have been able to handle grades 4 to 7. But now I'm definitely able to easily handle grades 4 to 7. So I think that my journey started from there, starting from teaching at my own school to being offered a TA position at VDA. And then through more and more practice and through Nathan, Connor, and Adrian all approving me as ready to become an official coach, I started to first have my own lesson. And obviously, when I first started coaching, the other coaches are always there to act as support. They always communicate, oh, hey, I have a better resource for how to do this, or this is my way of teaching claim analysis impact, check over this. Or do you guys have any suggestions for any games that can engage debaters? All of this kind of stuff. Like the coach community at VDA is really amazing. We're all there to help each other. And I always find that, and so when I first started coaching alone, it was really, really nerve wracking. But because I had this wonderful coach community, I was able to get through it. And eventually I was able to coach independently. And that's where I am now, where I'm coaching independently. I think that there's a few elements to applying to university and how debate helps with it. So I think the first element is literally debate as an extracurricular activity that you do. So I think that obviously debate is something that I think I would maybe start at what university admissions look at. So no matter if you're applying to American universities or Canadian universities, every single university you apply to, academic ones, are going to ask you for an activity list or ask you for an extracurricular that you did during high school. And I think that the easiest way to just tell all the parents and all the students how great debate is that debate is something that you don't have to do super well at to just put on your activity list. I think that I'll get into this later, but debate is an extracurricular activity. It's an activity that you did in high school that you can just automatically put on there. And the most important thing about debate is that most universities are not looking at just awards that you got from this activity, but also looking at the time that you put into debate, right? The more commitment that you show to an activity, the better it is. And debate is one of those things that it's really easy to show commitment. You attend meetings, you go to tournaments, all of those show commitment. And obviously, we think that with every single, like at VDA, I don't really think it's impossible to not improve. It is impossible to not improve. Like you're always going to improve and you're eventually going to do well at a tournament. And so there's going to always be some sort of award that you can put on your resume, or on your like university activity list. But beyond that, I think debate also teaches you really important research skills, teaches you how to write persuasive essays, teaches you how to like speak persuasively, right? So the whole point of debate is to learn how to argue, to learn how to convince a judge, to convince somebody that you are correct. And basically, when you're writing your essays, you're trying to convince the admissions officer reading your essay that you belong at this school, that you are destined to supposed to go to this university or post-secondary, wherever. And this doesn't just apply to actually university or post-secondary. This also applies to like getting a job, right? Writing a convincing cover letter, writing a convincing email, all of this kind of stuff requires you to be able to persuasively speak, to persuasively write. And this is something that debate uniquely teaches. And I think it's like a two birds with one stone kind of thing, where you can learn how to persuasively speak, you can learn how to persuasively write all at once without having to like go to writing class and then go to speaking class, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do separately, you can all do it together. And I think the last most important thing about debate and why it's such, I think, an activity that I encourage is that, as I said before, you don't have to necessarily win to show that you're dedicated to it. I took many different paths, and I think that Vicky talked a little bit about all the paths that I took. I was a good debater. I also was a coach, right? I also helped a lot with my school's debate club. And I also, I guess, directed my own debate tournaments, right? So there's a lot of paths that you can take, and you don't have to be the best debater to direct your own debate tournament or to host a debate tournament, right? Obviously, you're not hosting a debate tournament alone, but you're hosting with other people, and you don't have to be the best debater. You may need to only have math skills, right? If you maybe want to be the finance coordinator for the tournament, or you need to have really good organization skills to even organize the tournament in the first place, right? Again, to be a good coach, you need to be a good teacher. You need to be able to see the passion. You need to want to nurture the potential in students, right? This doesn't mean that you have to be the best coach. It just means that you have to understand debate and be able to be observant, all that kind of stuff. And so I really recommend debate as an activity that you do in high school because of that reason. A lot of activities, I know you have to, like, if you're doing like a sport, you have to like win an award or something, or if you're doing like mathletes or math challengers or whatever, you have to again win something to show or to make it look good. In debate, it's different. You can show that, oh look, maybe I didn't get a champion of a tournament, but I do have a job that I have for 3 years, right? I coach at a debate academy, or I've held multiple debate tournaments, and those debate tournaments have raised $4,000 for charity, or maybe I've organized and gotten sponsorships from other companies to host this debate tournament. All of these are skills that are transferable to real life. And also, these are skills that universities are looking for. You don't necessarily need to be a champion debater. And that means that it's accessible to everybody and not just the top. Yeah.
那我经常会跟家长说，一定不要去跟别的孩子比，不是说别的孩子，就像刚才 UK 说的也是，每个人的路是不一样的，你不一定要采取同一条路，或所有的路都要去走。那每一个孩子有每个孩子的特色。那我在这里要问那个 UK 妈妈的一个问题呢，就说因为 UK 现在毕业了，已经当老师了，那还有个妹妹，那妹妹也在学习这个辩论，所以呢，我就想问一下，就是分享一下你这个，就是这两，因为孩子即便是她两个是姐妹俩，我想可能也有不同的，孩子跟孩子也是不一样的，既然是姐妹俩，所以她的性格不一样呀，或者是她的这种就是接受能力啊，或者是那种喜欢程度呀，它都会有影响。所以呢，因为妹妹也在学，所以我就想你分享一下。
这样 Yuki 呢，他从小就比较喜欢会说，就是比较喜欢说话啊。他经常的给我一堆的就是建议，就是计划，经常就一下课就哒哒哒就不停的跟我讲，就是可能未来1年、2年、3年都有可能发生的事情哇，他每天都能跟我反反复复的讲，就是类似于那样子啊。到后来我就很烦了，我那说你能不能把未来1个星期要发生的事情跟我讲？那3个月以上就不要跟我讲，就类似于这样。那 Yuki 他从小喜欢讲，所以当时 Yuki 去辩论，其实也要谢谢一个老师，就一个英文老师，他发掘了他的优点。他说他写 argument 特别快，所以也写得特别好，所以他建议我让他去学辩论，就这样子。那么妹妹去学，妹妹跟 Yuki 呢是属于是完全不同的性格。Yuki 比较爱讲，比较 open 一点，妹妹相对比较内向一些。而且呢，2个小孩子感觉上妹妹更偏理科一些，书也看得比较少。那么我对妹妹的期望就是说你去学。那么一个是因为辩论我觉得比较好的是，就你可以让小孩子，尤其女生啊，去接触你在这个比如说他6、7年级这样，就比在这个年龄层你不会去接触的一些问题。就是如果你不去辩论， 应该是很少会去 touch 这些领域的，比如说军事、政治、经济、科技类的。那么对他们这些就是环境类，就类似于这样的小学生来说，他不会去特意的去关心这些东西。那么这样子辩论的话呢，能开拓他的思维，能让他去不管怎么样，我说你去上课，你不管你学多少，你作业做不做我都不 care，这是我对他第1年的要求。你反正你就去上，哪怕你就听那么一点，哪怕你去做一些 research， 就简单的 research， 那么也是对你一个知识的积累，这是我比较看重的一个东西。就我觉得辩论是一个开拓，一个知识量，一个信息量、知识量的一个重大的积累。就是说你，尤其是你到后期的辩论，你没有这些做基石的话，你是不可能成功的。因为 Yuki 是阅读了大量的书，就是他很喜欢阅读。妹妹跟姐姐不太一样，她不太喜欢看书，那么所以每个人的期望值不一样。那么而且我在这边工作，那么我的工作的环境就只有我一个华裔，那么你能看得到，就是说一些中国人，就是包括我身边的一些朋友，我能看到一些就是华裔你在工作当中一些弱势，就是说你就是不太善于表达。很简单，就我们华人嘛，就是做嘛，就自己就反正你能超额，你能非常高质量的完成你的问题，就是你所有的工作。但是怎么去让老板知道你完成了呢？比如说我一个印度人老板，他只是一个 supervisor， 他比我晚进来很久，好几年。然后我们要写年度报告的时候，他当时才来公司1个月，他就侃侃而谈。我就看到这种年度报告，我就不会写，你做什么？对吧？我可能就基本上1分钟就写完了东西，就是讲完了东西。我看他侃侃而谈在那边，就讲的天花乱坠那种啊，就好像把我做了大概7、8年的东西他都做遍了，就那种感觉啊。就是我觉得就是在工作当中，包括 Yuki 的爸爸在工作当中，我们都感受到，就是一个就是说一个你表达自己的能力是特别特别重要的。对于孩子来讲，并不是说你做的多好，你做的多好，你也要让人家看到，你要让人家就是说，就人家来问你的时候，你能秀出来，你能自己讲出来，表达出来，你做了一些什么。我觉得这是一个很重要的技能，就是说我对孩子的培养，就辩论，我没有什么，我送孩子来辩论，我并没有说一定要让他们拿第1或者拿什么奖，没有这样的想法。就是说我初衷就是说让孩子学习一个技能，就是说表达自己，就让自己一个就是将来一个生存的技能吧。我觉得这个特别重要。就是说，不管你自己做生意也好，将来你打工也好，那么最重要的就是包括你去面试，最重要的就是把你自己卖个好价钱嘛。你自己或者你的产品，你卖个好价钱，对不对？那么你都不知道怎么去表达，去怎么样去讲这些东西的话，这就是很一个弱势的一个 part， 一个缺点吧。就我希望我自己的孩子能规避这样一个问题。
I want to ask you, have you ever wished you started early for debate?
For sure. I actually always wish that I started earlier. Seeing all the younger students I teach now, I just think to myself like, oh my goodness, like if I started earlier, I would be way better than I am now. Like these kids that I'm teaching I've taught grade 4s and I've taught like I can name all of like the younger students I've taught, but they're crazy. Like I watch them grow and every single year they get better and better and better. And I'm like, oh, I can't even imagine when they're going to be in grade 11 and 12, they're going to be like top of the world. Like they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if there was one thing that I would have to say to any parent or any single child is don't be afraid of doing debate. Debate is something that I think is almost like an adventure. Treat it like an adventure, right? You don't know what the ending is, but you know that what the most important thing is the journey that you take. And so don't be afraid to make the first step on that journey, because you can end up in a great place. And even if you don't end up in a great place, you take away a really good experience that can help you in your future life.
我其实听到很多家长啊，有跟我聊，包括朋友，就说，哎呀，好像孩子学辩论因为现在可能不会面对这个问题啊，因为大家都是网课，那原先都是 我们都挺不容易的，从高桂林也好 Burnaby 也好，都送到西区是特别不容易，可能单程都要开40多分钟。那么很多家长就会觉得啊，我很耗这个时间，就是说没有这个时间去为孩子做这样的奉献，就是好像就用奉献吧 contribution 嘛。那么我觉得就是在这一点上，我自己做的还是可以的，我愿意为孩子去做这些，就反正就是只要他们喜欢，只要我觉得就是说，对他们也是有利的吧，就是将来是有帮助的，不管多远，我也是会愿意去支持。那么我希望有些家长也是，就是如果就是说你的孩子是真的喜欢的话，那么也请支持他们。
谢谢 Yuki 妈妈。这个
Aside from taking debate at VDA, I think one thing that I did do is I practice a lot at home. So I took specific skills that my coaches asked me to practice. So, for example, maybe I needed to work on impacting. I would um, go home and work on those skills myself. And you might be asking, well, how would I know how to work on these skills? One thing that I did was I asked my coaches. My coaches would always come up with different activities. And these activities are activities that I can do myself and I can practice on my own. Another thing that I did was watching debaters. So there's YouTube videos of debates online, but also there are, and don't watch like presidential debates, like actual debates online. And also your coaches might be providing videos, or your coaches might show you videos. And also, again, like your coaches probably know videos. Like I know some videos that I love watching, I think are some of the best rounds I've seen, right? Ask your coaches. Your coaches will show you these videos, send you the links, and watch these videos. I know a lot of debaters got better by just watching other debaters. And I think that a lot of my style and how I debate is from watching other people, right? Going to tournaments, being like, oh, I like that. Let me put that into mine. Or, oh, I like that. Let me do that. Right? All of that kind of stuff. That's how I got better, other than just going to lessons myself.
Thank you for sharing that. So, because I know a lot of coaches do share video links with their students. Yeah. So, are you sharing those with your students too?
Yeah, for sure. So what I do love to do, because I think that especially for foundation students, their only idea of what debate is probably through like presidential debates, which aren't the best examples of what debates can be. So what I like to do is I like to demonstrate what a debate is. And I do have recordings of me debating at tournaments. And so I like to show that to my students, to show them an example of what debate is and what a proper high level debate looks like.
When you teach young students, like, do you think they are capable of learning debate because they are so young, they are only 4th grade?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that the youngest I would ever go is 4th grade, and the youngest I would ever teach is 4th grade. I think that grade 4 is at an age where these students are at school learning how to write essays. They're learning how to start putting complex sentences together into persuasive paragraphs or even into paragraphs at first. And this is when they're going to start being evaluated on their speaking too. So I think that grade 4 is a really good age to start. Another reason why I think that it also depends on the maturity of the child is a lot of times, I've already mentioned this before, but debate is not only just about your age, and not only about the skills, but also about the knowledge, right? Because sometimes you'll have debates about government, sometimes you'll have debates about like some economic, financial, or technology stuff, and you might not know about it, but a lot of people might not know about it. And so the thing is that the thing that I would be most worried about when I'm teaching younger debaters is the lack of knowledge, because it's really hard for me to feed kids knowledge. I can't just like read off of a book and then like there's not like a knowledge book that I have that I just read off and teach off of it. Knowledge is really built, and it's really it really depends on just how long you've lived, right? Obviously, the longer you live, the more experience you have, the more that you know. These younger kids haven't lived as long, they don't have as much experience. However, I do have activities that counteract these kind of issues, where I do encourage them to read the news, watch the news, and I do assign them specific activities that boost their knowledge on certain topic areas. And also, this is just a general problem across like all grade levels, where depending on how many books you've read and depending on your family dynamic, you just maybe don't have that much knowledge on a specific topic, right? So all of that can be corrected, but I would say nothing younger than grade 4, just because I don't think that they're mature enough or that they know enough. There's a few ways. So first off, if it's a foundations class, one thing that I do like to do with them is I like to give them easier topics that are more accessible. So my favorite topic to give when I begin is this house would ban zoos. Pretty easy. It's just about whether or not we should get rid of zoos or keep zoos. And I think this is a really good place to start. And then from there, we'll go like ban homework, right? Or maybe we'll talk about banning fast food, all that kind of stuff. Things that are accessible, things that are daily. And then from there, we'll advance a little bit further. I'll start to get a little bit more specific. Maybe let's talk about the justice system. And usually what I like to do is I like to give students a topic and let them do what they want with it. So it's really interesting to see some students will choose to go home and research that topic. Some students will just use their own knowledge. Regardless, we'll have a debate, we'll look at the topic, and I will teach them a bit of a lesson afterwards. For example, if it's a topic on justice or if it's a topic on like some criminal system, I'll give them a lesson on the criminal system. Maybe it's a topic on economics. I will give them a lesson on economics. And obviously, I'll try to tailor it to their age range. Teaching economics to grades or high school is very different from teaching economics to elementary school students. These are some activities that I would do to help with the students. And I know that when I was in competitive class, I wasn't always super knowledgeable on everything too. One thing that the other coaches did were news tests, where basically they would test you on like, I think the headlines of the news or what the news is about that week. And it's really hard. It's not easy, but the whole point of it is learning and making sure that you're keeping updated. All of these small kind of activities can help you, one, be aware of the fact that I don't know everything and I should pursue and go look at news more or go look at these things going on in the world more. But second of all, also it teaches you what you don't know, basically. Yeah. Or I'm studying business and I'm also studying political science or international relations. And so I do have a little bit of, I guess, like political science and debate kind of go hand in hand. And that's what most people think. A lot of debaters go into political science. And a lot of people do ask, like, how does debate help you in business? Well, it really helps when debate really helped me with confidence, right? Being able to go out there, clearly express your opinions, clearly able to communicate and be able to persuade other people is really important. If you're going to be working in finance, you're going to need like finance, consulting, marketing, any of this kind of stuff. You're going to be able to need clear communication skills. If you aren't able to clearly communicate to your boss what you're trying to say, to your clients what you're trying to say, you're not going to get the job, you're not going to do well. So I think that debate really helps with that. But also just in general, I think debate really opens up this like critical thinking mind that a lot of people don't have, which is surprising to me because I do debate. But it really helps you think about the world on a greater scale instead of just thinking about like, oh, what am I doing right now? Rather, it makes you think about all of the smaller factors that are going into the world and around you. So my debate partner and a lot of my debate partners did not study political science. They actually went into STEM, so science, technology, engineering, or math. And they also found that it was really helpful because it was just a way for them to learn communication. And also it was a way for them to learn research. So the specific type of debate that I did a lot in high school was public forum, which is also the style of debate that Stanford was in. This type of debate format really allowed me to do research. And the whole point was that you were given a topic and you had to do research on the topic. I don't think that I would be doing as well in university as I would be if I didn't do that type of debate in high school. Unlike a lot of other university students, I already know how to start researching, right? I know my professor right now is teaching these students how to make research strings, how to like start research. And I see the question to research and I automatically know exactly what to research. I already found like 10 sources to cite and I'm ready to go. And I think that this skill is really important if you want to go to post-secondary. You don't want to be learning how to write a research essay in post-secondary. You want to be learning that in high school and being able to write amazing essays already in university. Yeah, so I think that it's like a lot of skills that debate teaches you are transferable, not only to just being a lawyer, but I think just in general, communication, research, critical thinking, all that kind of stuff is applicable to any job, any profession. In university, especially if you're thinking of pursuing even higher education, you need to continue doing activities, right? And personally, I really love debate, and I really love the community that debate provides. I haven't really talked about it that much today, but debate at VDA is like a family, right? I can't emphasize how much it is like a family to me. I have all of the younger debaters are like younger siblings to me. I have like lots of younger siblings, and they all to me are super close, and that's the community that debate is in, right? And I think that in university the community is same, where everybody's really close to each other and everybody's trying to help each other. So for example, although I am currently attending the University of Western Ontario, my partner for the tournament that I was just at right now, or like a few hours ago, was Diggory, who is a coach at VDA, but he attends Simon Fraser University. And so usually people from different schools wouldn't be partnering with each other, but because the debate community is so nice, and because he's been super, super nice as a mentor, and university debate is harder than high school debate, and he's willing to guide me through it, he decided to partner with me. And I'm really thankful for that, because at this tournament today, I learned a lot. The tournament's not over. We still have more rounds tomorrow, but he and I still did pretty well. And I really am thankful to him, because I learned a lot from this experience. I think that debate in university is also just really, it's a really great exercise to do to continue engaging your critical thinking brain, but also it's just a way to meet new friends, meet new people who think similarly to you, and also are there to always help you. The president of my debate club is at Western is actually not a political science student. He's a fourth year medical science student. And so a lot of people are like, whoa, he's in medical sciences? That's so surprising. And it's not, because in university, and as I said before, debate is not something that's just for political science students, but it's for everybody. And it really helps you in all aspects of your life. It really helps you critically think, communication, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Very much long-lasting friendships. So a lot of the partnerships that I've had, I still keep in contact. So Liz, who is also a coach at Vancouver Debate Academy, she and I go to different universities now, but we're still good friends, and we still text each other from time to time, asking each other. She's also a first-year university student, so we're asking each other, how's midterms going, how's finals going, all that kind of stuff. And so it brings a lot of really close friendships. Also, remember that when you're doing debate, you're working together on making a case, right? And sometimes we were flying together to Stanford to whatever tournaments, right? We're waking up at 6 a.m. together, right? Or working until 4 a.m. together, right? It brings this kind of bond and this kind of partnership that you don't really get in other like activities, I think. And another thing is that it really teaches you how to work in a team, because Liz and I are different, right? Where she's really good at sciences and I'm really good at humanities, right? And we also have different personalities. It teaches you how to work well with another person for an extended amount of time. So I think coming out of it, I've learned a lot from her about sciences and also about things that she's good at. But I think she's also learned a lot from me. And in general, we've both learned how to work as a team and how to solve problems.